Hello everyone, my name is Felipe Fleming and I am a game and level designer based in Sweden, and I am currently a freelancer and a consultant. I am a game design alumni from Future Games here in Stockholm, graduated in 2023, and I'm currently enrolled in the level design program at the Game Assembly as well. So I've done a lot of studying and a lot of things here, and during my time I've produced more than 10 plus game projects with the school, game jams, and released a few of them on Steam as well, small projects. One of the biggest things that I got to do this career is also that I got to be the lead level design mentor for the great Gamer2Maker. What I'm actually doing there is that I'm doing my own level design 101 course, so that people and students that are entering the institution and growing with the design and production program. For you people that don't know, level design is the art to create worlds that people get to engage with and get to talk and play about, from all the games all over, for 2D platform and 3D platformers, Metrovanias, third-person action adventure. So if this is something for you, if you are interested either in starting in the game industry, if you are even just a little bit curious about how it goes on and what actually level design is, then this video is 100% for you. This will be the first one out of 3. That is the exact course that I teach at the Gamer2Maker institution for all the new students that come. So I get 1 month, one new batch of new students, and I go through this course with them. It has been battle tested, and we have seen cool results from people that never have heard or even done level design, that at least gets a little whiff of it all, and they can actually produce and start producing their own levels. So this is not a master class, this is not a paid for, or we don't need your money, or we don't do nothing like that. This is something we teach our students, and this is something that I've constructed myself from my work and from my construction, taking as much knowledge that I can from the industry or from the courses and from the studies I've done, and craft it on into a smaller course that will be totally free, and it will be here on YouTube, and we will showcase it all. So without further ado, let me just start with the course then. So this is my own course, and this is with the Institution for Gamer2Maker, where I get my students with them and I get to see and foster them together with the other design leaders there. A little bit about me before we go. My name is Felipe Fleming, and I'll teach you as much as I can with my knowledge in level design. These are the studios that I've been working with the latest time. I've done with Ichigo Ichie as a generalist designer and production assistant. I made now also with Everflux Games, where I was their game and level designer, producing multiple levels for them. Also, I just recently joined as a level design consultant for Fat Cat Play, with a new founding studio that I will be working and helping them foster their new level designers, and also getting some interns there as well for level design and mentoring those interns into learning level design. And finally, I'll also be working with Silk Road Studios as their level designer and community manager, helping them foster as much levels as I could possibly produce. So that's a little bit about myself. The goal for this course is not for the students to get overwhelmed by all the knowledge that we have in level design, because level design is not only a broad subject, and it's also not just something that is easily learned or even taught, even because the level design space has a lot of techniques, it has a lot of fundamentals, a lot of influence from so many other sources. So the goal for this is just for the students to become a bit more confident and become a little bit more knowledgeable about the level design pipeline, from how we start producing a level from the concept phase, and then how we can make something that people can understand and see what the purpose of our building this level was for, what our constraints were, what our ideas was, and how we showcase and present that. And also they will be confident in the level design structure. They will become the fundamentals and techniques, workflows, and concepts that we in level design get taught and that we use every day as level designers when we communicate with each other. They will be comfortable with blockout production for 3D spaces in Unreal Engine, and more about that in the next lecture as well, what actually Unreal Engine is, what a blockout is, and how we use these as to build up the skeleton of a whole game experience. And also they will be learning a lot of expertise within iteration and playtest, because these are super valuable in any production. If it's a product design, if it's a product that you use for selling online, it always has to be battle tested, and the students get comfortable in that as well. Within the curriculum, we have 3 lectures in the course, and the lectures is an introduction to level design and the pre-production phase. The second one is the introduction to blockout and the level production phase, And the third one is the introduction to playtest and iteration phase. And all of these are adaptable with the dates for the students. So some batches of students gets other dates, depending on the month. But I usually say that it will be more or less one week or 1.5 weeks between these to let the students get enough time and enough space to let themselves learn, let themselves do this. And during this time, we mentor them and we feedback them all the time. So let us do an introduction. I'll start with this lecture, and this lecture's theme is Introduction to Level Design. And the agenda for today is that level designs, histories, and origin. And also we're going over industry standards, workflows, and production. And we will top it off, and finally we will do some level design document production and pre-production that we will be showcasing exactly how we do that. And then the first question comes. What is level design? Sometimes it is super self-explanatory. That is how we design a level, but exactly is it what type of levels maybe? Is it about how the player moves? Is it what types of theme we will be going for? Like level design is a very broad subject, and if you are an aspiring level designer, if you're like me when I started out a few years ago, that you Google and YouTube a lot of level design, I'm just gonna clear one thing out first of all. There's a huge difference with level design in its core and the visual for it. So level design is not about putting out assets, 3D objects that you find in asset packs, or if you are an artist and you create them yourself and just place them out. That is not exactly what level design is. There will be a ton of things online that you'll see on YouTube, speed level design, and those are really, really cool, and those are inspiration a lot for us level designers, but it's not in the core, it's not level design. Level design is its course is more or less on the picture below that you see here. It is when we create everything in blocks and gray box blockouts that are like a 3D space for the level that the player will be playtesting and seeing around and see if it actually works, if it feels good, if it goes as it should. And then when that has been tested and battle tested enough, that's when we then go on to a level artist or a environment artist, and they take that and then they do something visually pleasing. They usually have a lot of communication from the start of the vision of the level. But just so we clear, level design in its core is about the skeleton of the whole experience, not the outside. And also within this as well, there will be a lot of things that people say about. Some people say that level design is one thing, some people say that level design is another thing. And I think the best way for us to start this course and to start the understanding of what level design is, I will just read out this cool little quote that I like a lot. And that quote goes like this. Level design is the process of creating the environment, the stages, and gameplay spaces that the players interact with in the game. It involves planning, layouts, pacing, gameplay, placing obstacles and rewards, and guiding the player experience to ensure a challenge and immersion. So this quote kind of explains it a little bit more, and you can also see two great examples of blockouts and how the level design has been come through first here. You can see in the pictures above, we have Uncharted, that is from Naughty Dog under the Neil Druckmann leadership and creative direction. Before it looked like this, and when the environment artists came in and have been tested all of this, then it looks the visual like when you play in your PlayStation or Xbox or Steam, etc. The same on the other example, we have Cory Balrog's God of War that was also displayed and had a lot of success. This is also how it looks in the beginning. It's not the visuals first, it's first of all usually a lot of cubes, a lot of grids, everything that looks like the skeleton to battle test and see if this experience even works, and it's fun. But also, like, why does this matter so much in game development? Like, of course we have levels, we can't go around in a game if we don't have a level, but why is it so important thing to actually know a little bit about? But also, if you're aspiring to be a level designer, what our purpose is, and that is that the level designer and the level design in general, it delivers the moment-to-moment gameplay. Everything that you experience in a game, it's always in steps and arcs and all of these things, depending on the game, of course. But it's usually the level designer that is the scripter for the whole experience. More like an architect for the whole thing, and just a director for each moment that goes on and has everything planned out. And also, like, there's a lot of people talking about level design and like how they love it, but where did it actually came from? You know, like, did it come from the sky? Was the first ever developer a level designer, or have it always been around? And the answer is that around in the 50s and 60s, there was a lot of developers that were coming up making all the first games that we know about. Pong, Super Mario, like all of these things that started, these were all computer engineers that realized that they can use computer science to make experiences that people got emotionally invested in. They love the dopamine hit from winning something, from competing to each other, and they found out that this was a product that could actually be strategized and could be produced and monetized, and just people could make a living out of this. When we came up more from the 70s and the 60s and the 80s, people were realizing that this is becoming more and more complex. People want more narrative, people want more story, people want more depth in their game development and their game products. So people were actually needing to niche. They needed to divide. So you weren't just a game developer anymore, you were a game programmer or a game designer or a game artist. So the team of developers, they just divided themselves. Will be like, okay, if we need to make this and we have competitors that make more, you need to focus only on the art, you need to focus only on the design, and you on the programming, etc. And that's how we got our disciplines today. And then during the 80s and 90s, when there was a lot of competitive level design going on, like Quake, and we got a lot of Doom, and we got all of these things, there were more and more niching into something more for the game, even the designers. And there was the birth of the level designer, because the level designer was then tasked to make sure that the whole experience was feeling great, the progression was there, and the player were getting challenged and rewarded. There's a debate going on that who is actually the godfather and the founder of level design. There's some people from Japan that have done a lot of games in the beginning at USA, but in my book, I would say, yes, this is also an opinion, but I would say that John Romero is the godfather of our level design niche. He actually made a lot of Quake levels and a lot of Quake production there, and he also was the designer for Doom when it came out in 1993. And a lot of the design techniques that we use today, and a lot of the things that are fundamental for us level designers today, are birthed from this game here. And it has been such a blessing seeing this game coming up to life. And now in 2025 with Doom, The Dark Ages, it has really cemented itself in the game industry. As you can see in the picture, they were just dudes having so much fun making what they love, and that is making games. And yeah, I would say in my book, John Romero was our godfather. And there are a lot of principles, and these are principles is more or less like a guideline that have worked for games in the past, that has stuck with us. So if you're a design student today and a level design student, you know you will be recognizing a few of these, and there are a ton more. Believe me, there are so many more principles, fundamentals, and without going into super advanced stuff, I think going over 4 principles and 4 topics is a great start if you want to go out with level design, and then you can use these to learn the other ones much easier. And these 4 are onboarding, level flow, level readability, and environmental storytelling. The first one is about onboarding. The word onboarding, it really just means teaching the player. We do this in work as well. When we take in a new student or like a new colleague, we need to onboard them of how we do things and stuff. This is also true for games. You cannot go into a game and just expect the player to learn and just know about it because they played other games or stuff like that. Each game is different from its own, different systems, different progression, different mechanics. So what we do as level designers is that we onboard the player in the level as well. And we use these types of things to, for example, if you want to learn vault, put an object in the way so they need to vault over it to teach them how to do vault, for example. And some general tips for this: show and don't tell. There are, of course, games where we have a lot of text bubbles and we have a lot of UI indicators that show them where they need to go, but it's always better to let them feel and experience it themselves, and it makes the player test the mechanics as well. And also we can use something called safety nets. A safety net is a great way to help them just to try out the mechanic without the fear of failing. So, for example, if they're going to do a sprint jump, you can just do a ground under them so they don't fall down and die, and then a little staircase on the side so they can go up to that. That's a great way for them to have a little tryout for their little mechanic. So that's a great tip that I can give you. Level flow is that we never want to hinder the player during the experience, and level flow is that the player just goes out, plays the game, and have no trouble at all, like finding things or flowing around. We can use things to lure them, of course, but we usually never want to make the player stop and be confused and ask questions that hinder them from playing the experience. And some tips that I can give here as well is that a level designer usually have a main path, also called a critical path. And this is a way that we design in the beginning, even before we even build the level, is that we have one line that goes from the start of the experience to the end of the experience. And it's intended that the player goes this way and that we use the level design for them to go through this way all the way to the end. And also another tip not to make the level design too linear and too dull is to make it a branching paths as well, also called detour paths. These are great for explorations, discoveries, and making the player get rewarded for lurking a little bit. So a great example is that you see a main path and you see obviously where you need to go, but on the side there's a little hint that there's something maybe there, a little entrance somewhere, and the player goes through it, finds maybe a chest or a loot, and then they are reconnected back to the main path. So it will be like the player didn't miss the main thing, but a little bit of reward for them for the exploration that they did. Level readability is that we always need to guide the player, and we need to show that in the actual experience as well. And showing this is very easy for us to do when we know a lot of things that are usually that we've done in level design. And having a level readable is also an art, because when you make levels, it's always super intuitive for yourself to see and have like, okay, but this is obvious that the player needs to go here, but it's not obvious for everyone. Great tips here is for having a readable level is using shape languages and color languages. And this is something that are used in other disciplines as well, like photography and filmmaking. And this is a great way for the player to know where they're going if we're using colors, for example, that are more attractive to go there. If we use shapes and using these types of things to guide them. So having shape language and color language, a little bit of knowledge about that will actually help a lot of your readability in the level. And finally, I want to talk about environmental storytelling. This is also something that is dependent upon each game product and each level, and a lot about the actual, if the level is even has some environmental storytelling, but it's a great topic to take up because it helps a lot when you build levels, especially when you have a narrative behind it. So environmental storytelling is that we use the space to tell a story without telling them a story. Could be an example when you go into a room and you see that it's all been destroyed, but there's one thing that is not destroyed. Then it kind of becomes, what happened inside here? Was someone fighting? Was someone searching for something and they missed that point and now we need to go there? There's a lot of things that we can use in environmental storytelling to tell the story of the level and experience without saying the actual words or text boxes. And one thing that I could tip some around here to make a good environmental storytelling, use assets early on. Assets that fill up the space that you want. If you want to make a medieval village, then take assets from medieval villages as well and just paint it out so it feels that we are immersed in this story. And also one thing that is great with this environment storytelling is using the word foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is a word that we kind of hint the player what's going on of something that's coming on later. And this is also used there as well, very subtly, and it's kind of in the same paragraph as environmental storytelling as well. And these 4 concepts are absolutely not applicable to all of everything. It's nothing that can be even used for all games because all games are different. But as a level designer, you will be comfortable learning these words. You will hear them a lot. This is something that you will hear every time that you make levels or go around the internet and hear levels. So this is a great start for you guys to just learning about them. Maybe in your first level you will use 2 of them. Maybe in your next level you use all of them. Or even you're going around and search a little bit for yourself and add this and more. But it's a great start for you to learn a little bit about level design. We have also a sort of pipeline. You can say that a pipeline is from a starting point all the way to an end point with a phase for having the level produced. And this all depends on why you're even doing your level design and your level design product. And if we, for example, are in a studio, like for example, me when I worked for Everflux, for example, I had some constraints. We had already a theme set up. We have already environment set up. We have everything that was needed. And my creative director, my lead, he already had everything planned out. The only thing he needed was me to produce more levels in those themes. So that is the constraints that some studios already have for you because they already usually have a product when you get hired. Sometimes, well, I like to do portfolio pieces and just showcasing in some sort of level design project to showcase my expertise and just to train as well and sharpen my skills. That is when you just get an idea. Do I want to make a third-person action adventure? Do I want to make a first-person shooter? All of these things are super important, and these things usually are the first starting stage to just set the tone for what you actually want to create. When you've gone through that, we've gone through something called the LDD phase, or the documentation phase. And also, this always depends on the person, this depends on the designer, it even depends on the company. Some LDDs from huge companies have 44 pages, some only have a one-pager, some even don't even use it. It all depends on how often you are used to this pipeline. Even when I have done a lot of levels and a lot of documentations, I always start with a level design document. Just for clarity, structure, a plan, so that me and my team can all be on the same page and I can always communicate my ideas and my workflow with them. So there will be no confusion for any department, or there won't be no confusion for anyone. When an LDD has been set and has a fairly great ground, then we go on to the blockout phase. And this phase is just when we take cubes, and these cubes are usually used in any engine that you use. Me personally, I am an Unreal Engine guy, so I use Unreal Engine 5 for faster and rapid prototyping. These blockouts are basically just for us to validate the documentation and the structure that we have planned and see how it works, feel out the space, feel out everything that we need. And this is also a very beautiful art to make not only beautiful blockouts, but also to make proficient at being fast at making these, just to try out the space. After we have done a blockout from the constraints that we have had and also the level design document, we will enter an iteration and a playtest session. And these are when we take the product that we have made and just fine tune it. Let people play it, let colleagues play it, people that are target audiences for these kinds of games, just to polish out the things that we didn't see when we were producing, just to make a better product. A lot of the games that you play today have gone a lot of iterations, a lot of playtests and fine-tuning, and I think that is even the most important part in this pipeline. But getting used to this pipeline, having this in this order, is a great start for you if you're new to level design and new to game development in general. There are always some more pipelines in different companies and different teams, but having this as a starting point is a great start, so you won't be overwhelmed with all the things that goes on in game development. Having these 4 steps is a great base. Now let's talk level design document production. A level design document is actually like a blueprint. We use it to write down everything about the level. We use it to write everything that's going on in the level, moment-to-moment action in the level, top-downs and everything. And it kind of can become a little bit confusing about what it is. But I think a definition is also a great start for us to learn a little bit about it. A level design document, also known as a LDD, is a detailed planned document used in game development that outlines the structure, layout, gameplay elements of specific levels or environments. The LDD helps ensure everyone on the team is aligned and that the level supports the overall game design vision. And there are a lot of different things that LDDs have. Some professionals have a lot of more context about this. They have technical requirements, they have engine versions, they have materials, a lot of things that goes on in a lot of these documents. And I think for the sake of this course and the sake of you not getting overwhelmed, having an LDD document in a minimum way I think is a great start, and it helps me a lot. I usually have my own template that I have structured, and I've actually given this document to Gamer2Maker as well. So all the students gets this LDD document when they start making their first ever level. This document has all the necessary chapters, but in a smaller scale. So if you Google for level design documents and see all these 40 pages, 100 pages level design documents, don't get scared. That is just a professional or a person that is a senior or principal that has done this a long time, and they have mostly a huge project, a AAA game or something in that manner. And some people don't even have these. Some companies don't even use these because they don't feel like it. But I think, in my opinion, if you're new to level design and want to do something in a structured and great way, it's always better to have a level design document at your hand, so you always can fall back to this one and see and progress and see how you learn this as well. So I think having one small level design document is always a great start. And this is my level design document that I'm presenting you now. And this have only the 5 core things. I don't think there's anything more than this is needed. You can add a little bit more onto these pages, but having these chapters is a great start just for a context of what the level is about. about. And this is the narrative context, the mood board and inspirations, mechanic and features, top-down and 2D layout, and level, beats, and flowcharts. So by starting out with the narrative context, it's that when you start building something, you need to display and show what actually is the world that you're building. Are you building a world set in the medieval times? Are you making a game that is set in the deserts, in the future, post-apocalyptic? You can see with these examples as well, like with Assassin's Creed, Horizons, Last of Us, you name it, all of these have a narrative context. It does not need to be a 40-page character sheet and a world-building document. It's just you answering basically 4 questions. Who, what, when, and where. Answering these 4 questions in a short amount of words is more than enough to start your own level. And also being in the beginning of learning level design to go into too much narrative and too much world building, it's good if you want to enhance that later on, but just to start making the level, just having these 4 answers in like 50, 100 words or less for each question is more than enough. And that is a great way for us to start building also and get more inspiration since we have a narrative context here. And mood boards and inspiration is basically the founding ground for what the directions of style and of mood and of visuals we want to use. So a mood board in definition is basically just a collection of pictures. You can use applications such as PureRef, Miro, or just having it on your computer on a wall somewhere, just to gather information and visuals to easier present for other people or for yourself or like team members what the actual vision that you have in your mind. It's really easy to have a vision in your mind, and it's much harder to explain that. Mood boards is a great way to explain it. This is an example that I found for someone's mood board, and you can already see like this is sci-fi vision. Maybe there's a place in a spacecraft, or we're not there, very industrial future. I already get the vibe of it all. I even see the color corrections that they want to use. So having a mood board is a great way for us to start a level as well, because then we know the visual feel that we are wanting to present. And mechanics and features, this is also something that depends on the game project. A lot of people say that making level is easy, but I think level design is easy when you know about the game design. So in the usual pipeline for a whole game production, we usually have the game design team already have something set in their own document called a GDD, also called a game design document. They determine what kind of mechanics we use, what features we are having. Are we having a wall run? Are we having a double jump? Are we having a grapple hook? All of these ingredients are super important for how we even build a level. If there is a mechanic that is changed during the production, then it will be hard, because then we actually have to redo the level itself. So having these in the beginning featured and done is super important as well. And these are also usually listed in the document. For the course sake, we are not adding our own code for mechanics. We are not entering our own scripting versions to make these, because I think for my course, I want the students, and I want you all as well, to get more familiar with only the level design things. So there is a great template that you see here in the pictures. It's called Game Animation Sample. It was Unreal Engine that released this template, and it basically was for us to see procedurally animated movement. So the game character was very smooth, and they adapt to everything that they go around when you press just the space button. And in my opinion, there are a lot of templates out there at the moment. You will see a lot of the advanced locomotion systems. You can see these are super great things that have a lot of weapon systems. They have a lot of grapple hook systems, a lot of things that are also using action games today. But when you want to start somewhere and make a level just from the ground up, just to make it, if you're new to level design, and this template has built in it ledge grab, vaulting, sprint jumps, it has all these cool things. That is the basic things that we need, and the only things that we need for free mechanics that we can use, and we can just start building a level around these mechanics. So these are the constraints for this course, and this is something that you can also add upon if you want to. But for my students, I usually say to them, use the gas template and use the mechanics given there, and use level design around those. And then something that is for all level designers to do, which is a great start for just mapping out what you want to do, it's doing a top-down layout, also called a 2D layout. This is basically like a blueprint script from above that you can see where the player needs to go. And this is an example from a freelance work that I did, and this is just one part of the whole level. The level was much bigger, but this is one part of it all where we communicated, me and my creative lead, where we just talked about what they wanted. They had some constraints already for me, so I just wrote them down and I communicated with my lead and just asked like how we want to go about it. And this is just a quick example for what I came up with that I wanted to just quickly do and then quickly enter the engine to produce this. So some top downs are way more in depth, while some top downs are even less than this. You can even do this on paper. You don't need to do it like I did. I do it usually on Miro because Miro have icons and they have everything there very easily for us to produce a top down like this. There are different people that do different things. Some people don't even do this as well. Some people will say that it's much easier to just go in and block out. But for me, especially when you have clients on your way and you have people that really wants their vision to be thoroughly outed, a communication between us, me and the client, is easier to do a top 2D layout first, just to show that if it's something that they even want, is something that they want to do. And if they feel everything is good and everything is fine, then I go into the block out phase, and then we have something to block out, and that's a script to follow. But you can see this like a blueprint for a building. You always have a blueprint first to see where you want to build, and then you build it. And for the top-down layout, the only thing that is needed here for us to communicate for either the clients or people that playtest is a legend. And that is basically where you explain what the icons are, and you also explain about the space if it's too confusing for the people that sees it. So the legend is like a guideline for them to see. You also need individual icons. You can't have like the same icon for everything. So I have, for example, as you see here, I have a different icon for items, different icons for ranged enemies, different icons for melee enemies, so that the player or the people that are seeing this top down can easily understand what the vision I have. Level beats is basically a number system that we use that are pointed out in the level, and that on a separate page it shows us from that level what these number systems, what actually occurs in these ones. The example here is that in the later page when I do the level walkout and level beats, number 1, they know where I am referring to when I explain what's going on in the level. A critical path, it's the way same as the main path we mentioned before. That is where we know exactly where the player must go, where the player needs to go, and the player will go for going through the space. And then a start and a finish. This is always shown in the top down as well, that where you know where the player starts the experience and where the player finishes the experience. And also, like as I mentioned before, the uses of the top down is super crucial because it's more or less of the professional planning for the designer, and for you as well if you're aspiring level designer. Doing it as professional and as structured as possible in the beginning will help you learn this way, and then it will be more easier to do when you actually get clients and you do levels for portfolio pieces, etc. It will be super easier for you to just go in and start doing a level. Also a very great tool of presenting, because when you showcase your work either on social medias or LinkedIn or your portfolio, having some way to explain for people that see the level and in this type of way is a great way to present. It's really also a great way for us to go from 2D to 3D and just have us as a guiding line. And then we have something called level beats and walkthroughs, and this is actually very different for different games. It's different for different projects, different companies, and I would say that this is just like the script of what the player is going through. Each part, each number system explains and has a purpose. So for each part, what they actually go through. You can see this is like a little curve as well, and this is more of an intensity curve for each level, but this is just an example of some people what they do when they map everything up in the structure of the whole experience. But for my students, they will only just focus on having parts and having a descriptive text on each part, showcasing that they understand that there are moment-to-moment action going on. We don't go through so much about intensity curves at this time, but this is more of something that so they get used to this later on when they actually make longer experiences and then make level design that is more intense, etc. Then they know about doing this intensity charts later on, but they have the knowledge of what actually different parts of a level is and what those are about. And also, this is something that I throw on my students as well, and that is a very good template that I use. This is just one of many, but when the player goes through the experience, why we have level parts, why we have level things going on like this, is that we follow an actual flow channel chart. This is an invisible one that doesn't get seen by the player, but for us designer, we use them a lot. And that is that we want them to always feel that they are challenged and that they are learning as they are progressing, and that they never get either one of two things. If it's too challenging and it's not in the same way as the skills that they are being taught and learned during the experience, then it gets more anxiety wise and it gets more frustrating for a player. If it's too much skills and too much things learned and the player progresses too much, but there's not much challenge going on in the level, then we go on into the boring stage in the area. So having them in the flow channel is an art, and I just present this to students as well, just so they know that this is something they can follow with the level parts that they will be actually doing. So when they're doing these level parts, they have a little guideline where they can use this, and something that is very useful. I usually use this template a lot, just because then I can see where the player is. Like if part one is very more learning things, then maybe I will do the next part a little bit more action wise, and then the third part a little bit slow down more, and then the fourth part a little more action, just to keep them in the flow channel. This is an example of a top down that I did for freelance work, and the top down is basically final phase. Is when I've made the whole level, I've made the block out for the experience using the 2D top down that I have written. This example is just for me to show how I did for my portfolio, and when I show this on socials, when I show this on LinkedIn. And it's just for people to understand that this level has a purpose and this is planned out each moment. So I have them all in systems of flowcharts where we can see actually what's going on in each part, and we can see a legend that explains all the icons and what's going on, everything from the item loot, NPC counters, the mini bosses, gate switches, all of these things. Only thing needed here is for a person that hasn't seen my level, like a little hint of what's going on. There are different things you can explain for. You can use it in two different ways to explain each part. This is one thing that I usually use. It is called level walkthrough, and this is where we take a screenshot of the top play of the space, and then we just showcase what's going on here in text for a whole piece like this. This is one way to do it, and this helped me just for this project to explain more and more what's going on here. So this was another example of a top down that I've made for one of my projects, and this is basically just a personal project that I made with a group of other developers, and we made it just for making portfolio pieces and to sharpening our skills. So a game idea that I had was to having this tested out, and I produced three levels for this game experience. And this is just an example when I've done the block out and I have gone through all the pipeline inspirations, and just now me showcasing this. And I'm showcasing this by having a screenshot of the level already finished, and then I just map out everything that's going on. And for this example, I usually just have everything listed on it, and I explain it in the best way I can for people to understand what's going on. And this is another example of level beats and flowcharts that we can use apart from level walkthroughs. This is a way of us to actually showcase in pictures each part. So as you see, we have part 1, part 2, part 3, etc. And this is listed on the top down as well, so that the persons that are seeing this from my portfolio or on my socials, they can actually see what each part has for purpose and what is going on each of those parts. So that's why combining the 2D top down and the level beats and flowcharts together, it's a great way to explain what's going on in your level without them having to play it from the beginning, especially when you're using these for portfolios or showcasing in your team as well. So all of these 5 things are more or less just us explaining what our level is about, and it's a great way for us to plan before even going into production for more efficient production phase. So I teach this to my students that they only need one level design document with these 5 things listed in them, and then when they have produced this, they send it in to me. I look through them, I give them live feedback and mentorship and adjustments for scope, etc. And then we go on to the next phase, that is the block out then. So the actual assignment that I give my students, and also the assignment that I give to the students here, is that they get to make their own level design document. So making one is a great start just to start planning out making levels, because it can be a little bit daunting to just open up a game engine, not knowing what's going on and not even having a direction, and just starting there, and people can get a little bit scared and intimidated by that. And my greatest tip for everyone and all of you, and especially for my students, making a level design document, it's a great start for you to actually plan out what levels you want to make. So this is the assignment that I give them for the submission and for the thing that they need to do. And I welcome you all that watching this to do this as well if you want to. Is that we have first the LDD template, that is something that I have and that I possess. The table of contents needs to be ensured there as well in a slide. And you have your first chapter, that is the narrative context. And you answer the 4 W's. Who, what, when, and where. And that is basically who is the protagonist, who is the player, what is his purpose there, what is happening, are you escaping a facility, are you saving someone, are you searching for a treasure, when did this happen, is it in the future, is it in the now time, or is it in the back time, like is it from the past? All of this is a great way to start. And where is this setting going on? Is it in space? Is it on Earth? Is it in South America? Is it in Europe? Is it in the jungle, in the sea? Just answering these 4 questions in the small text as you can is a great start. Then you will be having your mood boards and inspiration. Go into PureRef, or you can go into your Miro and just start gathering pictures. My best tips: go to Pinterest or just Google and gather as much references from the words as you like. If you like medieval, just Google medieval on Pinterest and there will be a lot of pictures that can give you inspiration, and you gather them all on a mood board. And the mechanic and features. For this assignment, I only have the listed mechanics from this template. The template is called Game Animation Samples. You can find it on Fab, on Unreal Engine's own page. And there you will see all the mechanics that are listed there. And the listed mechanics are jump, sprint jump, vault/ledge grabs, and crouch. These are a great start for you to do because each mechanic needs to be onboarded somehow, and the player needs to experience them in the whole thing that they do. So having these as a starting point is a great start for you guys. And of course, when you've done the assignment, or if you want to add more, feel free to do that. But I would say if you're an aspiring level designer and a new to level design, start at this point first. Then you must do your top-down and 2D layouts. And this is just you drawing on your idea. You can start on paper if you want to. That's a great way too. If you have like an iPad with your Procreate, use it there as well. Or like me, I usually use either Figma or Miro. Miro is my favorite one, where you can put out icons and you can put out shapes just to build out the space that you want to do. And don't be shamed here if your drawing skills is not the best. That's not important. The part is just you visualizing and making something up here. And this must be included. You must have a legend that explains what's going on in the top down. You must have a start and a finish, and you must also have a main path. And you also must use a main path. That is just basically you drawing a line from the start to the end, so we know actually where the player is going. And then you have level beats and walkthroughs. And this is just you using the number system and using from 1 up to 6 at this point. Some levels have more. My portfolio pieces usually have 9. For my freelance works, I have had 12 up to 15 parts. But for this design assignment and for this start for you all as our new level designers, is that you need to only do up to 6. So 1 up to 6. That's the only thing that I need from you guys. And just having them in the numbers and just placing them out in the level and having a little explanatory text explaining what's going on there. And for the submission of this is that the level experience as well need to have some more constraints. So the level that you are designing must also follow these constraints. At the end, there must be a final objective. It could be a tower that you see from a vista. It could be that you see something from afar that you need to go to, like the usual, like when you have a landmark, or it could be that you see some sort of endpoint and you need to get there. You also must onboard these follow mechanics during the experience, and that you need to onboard them somewhere and somehow. How they jump, how they sprint jump, how they vault, ledge grab, and how they crouch. And this is all up to you. You can get inspiration from anywhere you want, but the things that the player needs to go through them. And examples is like, if you want to teach them jump, make a little space in between so they need to jump. If they need to sprint jump, make the hole larger, make something on top of them so they need to crouch under, etc. And feel free to get super creative with this as well. And I also need you to do a detour, and this is just where you need to get through and just branching out from the main path and go in another way around the level and then reattaching to the main branch. And this is just for you to get comfortable with not only using just linear wise level design. So this is for you to experiment a little bit with how we can branch out this and branch into a little bit of discoverability. And the final one is that I want you of course to use cubes when you make this later on, but I want you also to use assets. And this is not the highest quality asset, highest UV mappings. I just need you to go into Fab or other places that you can find assets and just take something and that fits the theme. Example, if your narrative context is that you're in space and you're going to a spaceship, then take a spaceship that you find somewhere and use it and have that as a gate for that one. And if you're in the woods, have a tree that you can use as well. And this is just for visualizing the space even further. And also when you present this later on and you want to showcase this, it looks a little bit more prettier than just cubes. So these are the constraints that I give the students. There's also constraints you can use as well if you want to. And the level design template will be linked down there and you can all use it. It will be downloadable for as a PDF, but you can just take that one and use it as a reference and make your own if you want to later on. And that is the end of this lecture here for the first episode. And this one will be a complete guide just for you to introduction to the level design and to level design documentation and production. And this is just for you to have a little insight of what level design is, what game development is. And if you're still super excited of making up your first level, feel free to use this as well as your guiding point to making your first level. You can always contact me on LinkedIn. You have the link in the left if you want some one-on-one mentoring session while you're doing this assignment to learn. And if you always just want to chat and just connect and we learned a little bit more about the game dev space and community. I'm usually very active on LinkedIn, and I will be starting to produce more content on Instagram and TikTok and all of this, and trying to explain more about game development, game design, and level design, and what the actual thing is here and what we are so passionate about doing here. And also for the new people, aspiring game developers, aspiring game designers, aspiring level designers, you are all free to welcome to follow me as well when I will be showcasing more of the stuff that I've made and also more of my knowledge, because I think that having this shared, having this explained, and having this shown to everyone like this is a great start for helping the community, helping the game development space. And because there can be a lot of things going on the internet and it's hard to find things, so I hope this will be a great start for you when you start your level design journey. So don't forget to press that follow, and as always my friends, happy gaming.